Hi, welcome back to my channel, Open the Door. This is episode 99. Don't open the door. You are not a safety net. Set those boundaries. So not everyone from your past deserves a place in your future. Once you've closed out a relationship, you're not obligated to reopen the door. When the past resurfaces, if it does, it can stir up emotions, nostalgia, and confusion, and we could easily slip into old dynamics and patterns. But when we shift our perspective, that's the key to protecting and standing firm in our growth. So before you fall into old habits and patterns of being available for someone who you once cared about, remember, it's either you or them that walked away for a reason. So maintain your boundaries because it's empowering. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about creating boundaries for the past hurtful relationships and to get across this point that you are not a safety net. So here's scenarios. You need boundaries when you feel drained after every conversation. You say yes while your soul screams no. Your peace is worth more than maintaining the connection. You walk on eggshells to keep peace around this person, or you're always the one apologizing just to keep the peace, to help others feel comfortable. Your needs are treated as an inconvenience. You need boundaries when you keep excusing another person's behavior when it's hurting you. You need boundaries when you feel guilty for putting yourself first, or when someone keeps showing up uninvited physically or emotionally. You need boundaries once you're healed, but these people from the past keep trying to drag you back into their drama, trying to open old wounds that you have since healed. You need boundaries when you can't grow because you're too busy surviving the same toxic cycle with this person. And you need boundaries when you're the one doing all the heavy work, all the emotional labor and lifting in the relationship. You need boundaries when you're expected to be available 24/7 for this other person, except when you need something. You need boundaries when the version of you they want back isn't the same as the current healed you. And remember, there's no going back to your old self. So you need boundaries when your intuition is telling you to protect yourself. Don't ignore your intuition. Here's considerations for boundaries. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They're a declaration and a reflection of your own self-respect. They're about protecting your peace, your self-worth, and your emotional well-being, your time, your value, your energy, and your emotions. Past resurfacing of old friends, connections, let's say, can show up when they need comfort, when they're craving your attention, they need validation, or when it's just convenient. So ask yourself some questions. Evaluate, does their presence add value or is it disrupting your balance? Some other considerations include, or questions you can ask, do they respect your growth? Are they interested in you as a person or what you can provide? Is this relationship beneficial for you, or is it one-sided? If there's any red flags, then set boundaries, because it's not an option, it's necessary. If you're, getting red flags, then that means it's time to walk away. So here's the type of boundaries that we need to set. And then after each type of boundary, I'll give you a statement that you can use to say to yourself to help reinforce this type of boundary. So for emotional boundaries, you would say to yourself, I'm no longer available for conversations that reopen old wounds, protecting your emotions. Boundaries associated with your time and access to you and your time. Write this one down. I've chosen not to revisit this relationship. I wish you well, but I need to keep moving forward. Another type of boundary that you may need to set has to do with communication. And your self-affirming statement for that is, I'd prefer no further contact. If you reach out again, I will not respond. Another type of boundary would be the physical boundary. And you need to say to yourself to establish this boundary, and also you can say it to the person if needed, I'm not comfortable meeting in person or having you in my space. And then there's the behavioral type of boundary. And a statement reinforcing that would be, if you continue to gaslight, blame, and or pressure me, this conversation is over. So when the past returns, those are your types of boundaries. So let's say, you've put up all these boundaries and on some level, this past connection is returning. So acknowledge that the past can return as people, patterns, or even old triggers. It's not always a person. It can show up as sweet, apologetic, or manipulative. That would be applied to a person, of course. So what you need to do is acknowledge that this connection is returning, and then assess. Don't react, but assess, why is this situation or person showing up now? Are they testing your growth? Is this old pattern of behavior testing your growth? Is it trying to draw you in after you've healed? And very often that can be a test. So you acknowledge that this situation has returned. You assess whether it is back for your good, your highest good, or just asking yourself why. And then clarify your boundaries. Control who, what, and how enters or stays into your life. And when needed, reaffirm your non-negotiables, things that are just not up for conversation or discussion or debate. So after you clarify your boundaries, then you want to communicate and enforce without using guilt. Let's just use a person, because that would probably be the most common scenario. But you don't owe anyone access just because they had it before. And it's okay to say, I've grown beyond that version of myself. You clarified your boundaries, you communicated them, and now you anchored within yourself to your why. Remind yourself what peace, healing, and growth has occurred. And there are no second chances when you've been hurt in the past. Without clear boundaries, it can cause emotional chaos and trigger old wounds and memories. And just with, you might have a hope in your heart that something has changed in this scenario, but hope alone is not enough. So watch for the patterns. And close when it has to do with boundaries. Set your boundaries with strength and grace. Be firm and stand in your truth. A closing statement that you could use to close the door and put that wall up, that boundary once and for all, is, this chapter is closed. I appreciate whatever was good in our relationship, but I am no longer that version of myself. You're not wrong for growing and healing beyond whatever pain was caused in this situation. You're wise for guarding yourself and putting up healthy boundaries. It's not your job to make others feel comfortable with boundaries that you set for your own well-being and growth. Setting boundaries can be tricky. You need to assess within yourself what boundaries need to be set against particular people or situations, or old thought patterns and emotions as well. So I hope you'll take this to heart. And for those of you that needed to hear it, I hope you're receiving this message. Stay well and take good care of yourselves. I'll see you again very soon. In the meantime, I wish you peace, love, and light. And that's it for today. Bye for now.